Coming in from beautiful downtown Melbourne in our Vision Studios down there is the lovely Kate Ryan. Usually we're talking to Kate with her wonderful husband Brett as part of Focus on the Family. Kate, you've been willing to jump in while Fel's away and be my co-host of Rise and Shine. So I thought, while we've got you on here, just us talking, just us having some fun, why don't we get to know the KR a bit better?
Sure. How far back do you want me to go?
Well, where did? Let's go all the way back to how did you? When you were younger, did you ever think you would end up in this ministry position? Was this something in your mind that one day I'm going to have this husband and we're going to talk to people and couples and families or anything like that? How did God get you into that place? What were the steps that brought you there?
Wow. No, the answer is no. I did not think that it was going to go anyway. First of all, back when I was in university, I always wanted to be a teacher, always. But back when I was in university, I actually made a statement to some friends. I'm never going to marry anyone in ministry.
Wow.
And I learned very quickly, never say never to God.
Yeah.
Because when I married Brett, he was a nurse.
Okay.
And so I was a teacher and he was a nurse.
Safe. There's no ministry there. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I do find that both of those are actually serving kind of careers. Both of us are in the people business always.
Totally.
But, partway through, probably about 14 years into his nursing, God tapped him on the shoulder to go and be a kids pastor. And 11 or 12 years after that, God tapped him again and said, focus on the family. So the actual story behind that was when we were dating, we went to this relationship enrichment weekend, just to see if we were on the same page, journeying into the future together before we got engaged. And while we were there, we actually had a prophetic word over us that we would be in family and marriage ministry.
And how did that go with your stance of no ministry?
Well, it was interesting because both of us, we stopped and talked about, was that actually on our heart? Because sometimes, let's face it, that kind of a prophetic word is a long-range plan. It's not like we get married and then all of a sudden we're talking on marriage and parenting when we don't have children or anything like that. And so we just talked about it and we said, I asked Brett, was that on his heart? And we discussed that and we both had that strongly on our heart.
Wow.
Right back then.
Wow.
And so we just said we would pray into it. We would put it on the shelf for now because clearly it was a long-range plan. And 25 years later, I saw the job for Focus on the Family and I just knew.
So it was you who saw the position open and passed it on to Brett.
I did. Yes. I said it's about to begin.
Wow.
But everything led to there. So teaching, working with every age of child, working with parents. We ran young marrieds life groups. Brett was nursing, so, a lot to do with mental health and how to care for people emotionally as well as physically. He was in the children's ministry, so, bringing little ones to the Lord and developing their spiritual depth with the parents, in conjunction with the parents, and, of course, with the parents.
Yeah.
And so we've spent a lot of time developing those skills that at the time we're like, this is just where God's placed us. Yeah. But when we saw this job, I was like, he's been preparing us all along.
Wow. Isn't that incredible about God putting those, stepping stones along our way, and we're just trying to stay on that stone as we're jumping from stone to stone, and it's not until later on we go, oh, that was leading us to here. I love this story. Let's take a quick moment. We'll come back after Matthew West and we'll get more of Kate Ryan's story here on Rise and Shine. God who stays, Matthew West, and someone who's staying with us this morning is the lovely Kate Ryan. KR, as we like to call her here. It's DJ and KR, the initials are out this morning. Kate, you were telling us about your the stepping stones that God took you and Brett to this position that you're in now in Focus in the Family. And you mentioned teaching. I know you've been a mum has been one of your number one, life highlights, not just career highlights type of thing. How do those two things play together, teaching and being a mum?
Actually, they are very helpful to each other. I think having children really gave me extra love for the children that I was teaching.
Wow.
And because once you've got your own children, I mean, I'm not saying people who don't have children don't feel this, but once you've got your own children, you recognise that the ones that you're teaching are actually somebody else's precious children.
Yes, get it. I got it. Yep.
So when you're relating to them, you come from a different perspective.
Right. Okay. So, so practically, all that time in teaching with your own children, what were the things that God was putting in that, that time in your career that has helped you in what you're doing now?
Oh, wow. Yes, a lot. I was in the PE department.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I was in the PE department, and that's where I got my nickname, KR. It was an all-male department at the time when I was there, and it was absolutely fantastic. I loved every minute of it. The banter that went on was extraordinary.
Yes.
But one of my favourite things is that because of the relaxed nature of a PE department, kids would come and talk to you in their downtime. I had the wonderful opportunity of kids who are struggling or kids who just needed someone to connect with. They'd just come to my office and we'd sit and chat and just hear what was going on in their world. And so I very much saw my teaching as a ministry. It definitely wasn't just about, academics.
Yes. Yeah.
It was about helping them navigate the tricky years of their teen years, when they're trying to really discover who they are and the influences that are coming against them. Yeah. And so I just felt it was such a privilege to get to do that.
And again, especially in those teenage years, the PE teacher, like you say, is usually a safe place because, you sit a teenager down, you put them face to face with you and say, okay, we're going to talk about something deep and meaningful. And they just retreat, into themselves or they want to run away. Yeah. But you go, you know what, we're going to kick this ball or we're going to put this stuff away into the shed. And while you're doing something with them, that's where the stories, hey, how's this going? And they actually start to talk to you while they're doing something else. Yeah,
that's right. And look, and often not even that. They just come and crash on a chair. And sometimes, if a child was really struggling, a staff member would release them to either go to the counsellor or come to my office.
Wow.
So it was it was a safe haven. Yeah. And, they were precious years of really being able to invest and just be a listening ear, because often kids will forget what you've said, but they do remember how you made them feel. Do
you miss those days at all? Do you think, I'd love to go back to the PE and talk to some teenagers again, or are you happy for the smelly lockers to be behind you?
Well, I did struggle with it for years actually. Yeah. Because it was such a calling on my life. But God really challenged me that for me to move into the next thing that He had for us, I had to close that door.
Wow.
And so I did that, but now I've got the privilege of mentoring some of the girls that I taught who are in their late 20s.
Wow.
And so once again, I'm still connected. And that is a privilege. It's just, God just has, like you say, He's put those stepping stones and I've really just stepped out in faith. And gone, there has to be a stepping stone in front of me. I'm just going to put my foot out and see where that takes me.
I love it. Hey, listen, we could talk about these stories all day. We've got to run up to the news here. This is a bit of Bay Turner with brand new. Don't go anywhere. We got the lovely KR and DJ for your breakfast this morning on Rise and Shine.